Friday morning. Of course, it's time for the big interview. Wednesdays, we bring you that conversation that gets you talking every day. And now this lady is a Ghanaian. Okay, when I mention her name, you know she's a Ghanaian. Sandra Babu-Boateng. She's done so well. You know, when people migrate, we don't hear them doing that well. But Sandra is doing very, very well. And we are proud of her as a Ghanaian in the United States. She's back in Ghana to do some work. But before we have this interview, take a look at her profile video.
Sandra is the co-founder of Pana Genius, a trailblazing media company that reaches over 50 million people worldwide through flagship platforms like Face to Face Africa and The Breakdown with Sandra, her acclaimed YouTube show known for its incisive commentary on geopolitics, business, and global power dynamics through a Black diasporic lens. Sandra is also the driving force behind the Black Stars Experience, a premier conference and awards program that celebrates the brilliance of Black leaders, creatives, and innovators across the globe. Through her work, she bridges continents and communities, amplifying untold stories while forging strategic pathways for investment, cultural exchange, and collective empowerment. As founder of Babu Global, a strategic advisory firm, Sandra partners with governments, corporations, and institutions to drive economic transformation, from expanding manufacturing capacity to building investment pipelines and strategic partnerships that unlock local value creation.
And Sandra Babu-Boateng is our guest for this big interview. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, Rosalind.
How are you?
I am great, and thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome.
That was a great profile, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And you look beautiful this morning.
Thank you.
I was telling you, I love the green.
Yes, and this is Cultural.
Right.
She is an amazing designer here in Ghana. I went to her showroom yesterday, and I was blown away. So I would love to connect you, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
love to definitely connect with her.
Yes, she's amazing.
And I can't wait for us to get to know more about you. You know, we follow you on social media. We see what you're doing. And, you know, I know, aside your name, most people will ask that question, are you Ghanaian? I've told them she's Ghanaian.
I am. Very much so.
Yeah, very much so.
Born in Otumi, actually, in the eastern region. Yes, yes, I know. Yes. And so I grew up here in Ghana, but I left when I was about 11.
Okay.
You know, you can be home. Home is where the heart is, and Ghana is always home, right? For us. So I'm just delighted to be back.
That's great. Yeah, but are you back to stay?
No. I'm here for just a few days to do some work, as you mentioned. But you know, every time I'm home, it's great to be home. Yeah.
You've been coming often, haven't you?
I have actually. Pre-COVID, I used to a lot because we used to have an office here in Ghana. We still do, but right now it's mostly virtual. Yeah, pre-COVID, I used to a lot. I was actually here for an extended time back in 2018. We did Ghana Legacy Honors.
Right.
Back then, we brought a few of you know, the diaspora icons, brought them to Ghana to really celebrate them and highlight.
Oh, you brought most of them?
Yeah. Sandra Babu-Boateng and you know, just a few people who are doing incredible things for, you know, Ghana Legacy Honors. And that was incredible. And, you know, I went back to the States to continue doing what we're doing. We launched Black Stars Experience back in 2019. And then, you know, COVID came, so I stayed put for a little bit, and I'm back now.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, and I can't wait to watch the work that you're about to do. I know it's going to be big, and everybody's going to talk about it. Now, as I say this, the Black Star Experience that you're a co-founder of, you know, we have a Black Star Experience in Ghana. And so anytime anybody hears Black Star Experience, the first thing is it the one in Ghana? Right.
It's not, right? So, we started Black Stars Experience, as I mentioned, in 2019, and it is currently one of the biggest conferences in the U.S. It's held annually in November in New York City. That is really focused on bridging Black talent and Black economic power, right? So in a nutshell, what we do is we bring some of the brilliant minds across industries together to network, to highlight the impact of Black leaders across industries, entrepreneurs, tech, C-suite executives, right? So over, around 2,000 people actually attend that experience. And then we have an awards gala that, honors and celebrates these achievers across sectors. Our platform is, Pana Genius, and the work that we do at Face to Face Africa is all about amplifying Black talent, right? Just showing our greatness, right, to the world. And I feel really privileged to be able to play a small role in just telling our stories and amplifying our stories. And I think especially for now, being able to do that in a way that bridges Africa and the diaspora is really powerful. I believe that is an untapped potential for us, right, as a global Black world. And so we're really intentional about making that bridge, creating that that connection, right? So that's what Black Stars Experience represents. So since 2019, we've been hosting the conference and awards. COVID came, we went on a little hiatus, but then brought it back again in 2023. Okay. So it was a nice surprise, right, to see the President's Initiative Black Stars Experience. Whether it was a coincidence or not, it's great. I think there's a great room for synergy because we already have a blueprint, right, for what that could look like, and particularly from the investment standpoint, right? And we want to be able to leverage all the connections and network that we have to bring meaningful visibility to Ghana on the global stage, meaningful investments, and there just couldn't be a better time for that. So,
since the names actually are the same, have you tried to get in touch with the government and see how best you can work together?
Yeah, we have. I think the president has a lot on his plate right now. He's doing great, right? I actually talk about a lot of the work that he's doing on my show, The Breakdown, which we'll talk about. So, I know he has a lot on his plate, but we would definitely love to connect with him and see how we can collaborate, because there's so much opportunity for synergy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to exploring, ways that we can plug in and leverage the work that we've been doing in the U.S. to support his goals and objectives for the local initiative.
Before we came on, I was asking you how you got yourself into the whole media space and the camera in front of you. You said you're not a front person.
Yes.
You are behind the scenes.
I've been behind the scenes, until Trump came in power.
So tell us how you got behind the scenes and then how you got in front of the cameras.
Great question. So let me take you back. We started, so if you've heard of Face to Face Africa, that is one of the flagship digital media platforms in the U.S. My husband and we started this back in 2011, actually, and we were one of the first Ghanaians to be featured on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list back then, the inaugural list for the work that we were doing with Face to Face Africa. And so, the company has evolved, right, over the years, and then we created a bigger umbrella, Pana Genius, which now houses, so Pana Genius is now home for Face to Face Africa and other brands, right? So we've evolved, and we've grown. We have multiple digital media platforms, multiple events that we host in the U.S. as well, all under that umbrella. But then, this year, in about February of this year, I just got up one day and I said, enough. I think there was so much happening, in our world with the election of President Trump that our community was just not talking about. I felt we were not well informed. And there was also a lot of misinformation because this is the AI age, right? It's the war on information. It's very hard to distinguish fact from opinion in this world that we live in. And so I just started talking. I got in front of the mic, started talking about Trump's economic policies and its impact on not just us as Africans, but the Black diaspora, African Americans. And it just took off on YouTube. My show is called The Breakdown. And so literally, I break down, global politics from a distinctively Afrocentric lens, right? So how leadership and power is kind of shaping, Africa and the Caribbean and our world today, what it means for us. And I'm just so glad because what it has taught me is that people are ready for change.
Right.
It gives me so much hope and optimism about, young people today and the future of Africa and their readiness to build that future.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of conversations about what that future could look like and how every individual can play a role in shaping that. So as I mentioned, I've talked a lot about what's happening here in Ghana, which is exciting.
Yes.
I think it's such an exciting time to be a Ghanaian and to be African. And, I love what the current administration is doing. We can talk a lot, we can go deeper into that. But in a nutshell, yes, Trump is the reason why I got in front of the camera, and I'm so glad I did.
And it's working, it's working.
Thank
Do you sometimes feel like you kept too long coming in front of the cameras?
Yeah, I did. And, for a long time, to be fair, I've always been doing interviews. I'm a talker, as you can probably tell right now. And, with our platform, I've had an opportunity to interview so many incredible people in the U.S., from Alec Wegg to, Fela Kuti. And, but I haven't been consistent with it. Let me just say that, right? But now I just really felt the need to create a platform that is solely focused on that, on, politics and social commentary, and really bring our community together to talk about how we build this new world, this new Africa for us. Yeah.
And now you're in Ghana to conduct some interviews.
I am, yeah.
So before we talk about the interviews, let's break down your breakdown show.
I love it. So my breakdown, and if you're watching, we'd love for you to follow us on YouTube. It's our channel is Pana Genius, and our show there is The Breakdown with Sandra. So The Breakdown is a political and social commentary podcast. It's just me and a camera, and I'm breaking down.
How are you able to do it? Just you and the camera?
Just me and the camera, just sharing my thoughts, on what's happening with,
Don't you get lost for words?
I'm a talker, Okay. And it's not even beyond that. I'm just really passionate about what is happening, and I think the opportunity that we have to shape a new future for us. And it's time, for so long as Africans, our narrative has been controlled by everyone else but us, right? But social media has democratized that, right? No longer do we need to wait on the BBC to tell our story, or CNN to tell our story, which we know is usually not the full picture, right? The danger of one single-sided story that's kind of shaped the perspective of Africa for so long. We have an opportunity to change that through new social media, right? Anyone can pick up a camera and go on YouTube.
Yep.
We need to do more of that, right? And we need to use it to drive change, positive change. I think that is such a massive opportunity that young people today have. And so, just going in front of the camera and having an honest conversation with, I call them my people, right? Every show I say, my people, right?
Without seeing them, but
I know who they are. I know, and I can connect with them because they talk to me from all over the world. And they empower me, and being able to have this conversation together, around the world, it's transformational because I think we've been talking about Africa rising for a very long time. And often the question I ask myself is, when is it actually going to happen? Right? So we have to break that cycle. We need to go from words, right? From nice words, what sounds like it's a good idea, to really being intentional about building that Africa. And I think this is our time.
This is our time. Definitely, this is our time.
Yeah.
And I like that you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it so well. And it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Do you have any plans of taking it onto mainstream television?
That's a great question. A few platforms have reached out. Again, the show is so young, right? Like just a couple of months. A few platforms have reached out from, in the U.S., in the Caribbean, and I'm here in Ghana. Hopefully we can see how we can work together. But yeah, absolutely. I think we need to get that message to the world as wide and as possible. We need to be in control of the narrative. It is time that we not only focus on being in the room, but that our focus is, when we are in the room, how do we set the terms? That's what Africa is. I think in this age, we have an opportunity to set the terms for what the future is going to look like. We're literally in the middle of a global shift. When you look at what Trump, I was having a conversation with someone, we said Trump is the unlikely Pan-Africanist because he is forcing all of us to look at ourselves in the mirror. It's a wake-up call. It's about hate him or love him, but one thing Trump is doing is forcing us to take control of our future.
Right.
But we still have to do the work.
That's true.
In defining what that future looks like for us. But I often, I have to, when you look at leadership across the continent, you have to ask yourself, are we building that kind of new, are we taking advantage of the momentum?
We're so dependent on the others, and we don't want to accept what we have and take advantage of what we have.
And that's a problem, right? And I think when I talk to a lot of young people, or we have discussions on some of my breakdowns, right? I hear a lot of young people saying, well, we don't want to work with the West. Like, the US has failed Africa. And I get that. But then what I hear them saying is, now we want China and we want Russia. And I'm saying, okay, how about we choose us? What does that look like?
That's true.
If we flip the lens a little bit, and partnerships are important, right? We need partners.
Yep.
No nation can ever live in silo. We need partnerships. But I worry that we're just trading one dependency for the other, because we're not empowered to believe that we can set the terms and we can lead the way in building the future that we want. And so that's my message for young people. My platform is to really empower them to see, John F. Kennedy, back in the days, he challenged Americans and he said, don't ask your country what it can do for you. Ask yourself, what can you do for your country? So I challenge young people today in Ghana, in Africa, to shift their minds and to ask themselves, what can I do for my country? I think it is time. When Americans, John F. Kennedy challenged Americans back then, young people, and they shifted their mindset, it was a transformation.
Right.
It's transformational. So we need to be doing that.
We do. Okay, so talking about that, if you haven't seen the breakdown with Sandra, take a look at it.
Oh, Roslyn. Oh, wow.
Translators, restaurants, you're there to discuss trade and investment. And then, out of nowhere, a journalist asks, are you considering nominating President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize? This wasn't a joke. It wasn't hypothetical. It happened last week at the White House when 5 African leaders met with President Trump. The moment came courtesy of Haryana Vedas, an Angolan journalist, the first African accredited to the White House press corps. During Trump's meeting with 5 African presidents, she stood up and delivered what was either a bold challenge or a setup for a spectacle.
And for the African leaders, my question is, as you can see, President Trump is working to bring peace not only in Africa, but also in the world. Are you all considering to nominate President Trump for a Nobel Prize Peace?
Trump smiled, called her a very nice reporter, and turned to the presidents.
That's a very nice reporter. I got to meet her 2 weeks ago when we had the Congo and Rwanda, and we had some other people up from Africa, and that was the first time, but that's a very nice, I appreciate the questions, very nice actually. Would you like to, at some point I would like to go to Africa, absolutely. We're going to see what the schedule is, but at some point I would like to do that very much. Would you like to give a fast answer, please?
And oh, they did. We're going to break it down.
I like how you say we're going to break it down.
Yes, yes.
And you always break it out.
We're always breaking it down. Always.
I know maybe somebody has asked you this question before, but I don't know if you've answered it yet. Will you ever run for a senator position?
Oh my God, Rosalind. Here in Ghana or back in the U.S.?
Back in the U.S.
I am always looking for an opportunity to serve. I truly believe that my goal, my purpose in life is to, help make this world a better place, especially for us as Africans and, and the global Black community. So whatever opportunity allows me to do that, I am certainly open to it. Okay. I've certainly in the political space, both in Ghana and here, it's something that I would, because here's what I believe. it's impossible to create change without policy change. Policy leadership is very important because it's through leadership that you implement the right policies. And we can talk, right? And that's why I said, we've been talking about Africa rising for a lot, but not much has changed. And why? Because we haven't implemented change through policy.
Right.
And at that, I think when you have an opportunity to serve, you're able to implement real change through policy. And so if there is an opportunity that allows me to do that, absolutely I would.
That's great.
Yeah.
So talking about policies, we are in Ghana right now. I mean, what policies do you think we, as Ghanaians, we need to be able to say, we're standing on our own, we don't need the West?
My God, how much time do we have? Let me start with what we're doing now from my vantage point that I think it's great, right? I think one of the brilliant things that the current administration is doing is the nationalization of our resources. Because, I mean, Africa is the one continent that is blessed. I mean, God loved us. He blessed our land.
We have the gold.
Everything.
We have the cocoa, we have everything.
Everything. Yeah. We have everything that we need. But for so long, we haven't been able to leverage our resources into real and tangible economic power for our people. Why is that, right? We haven't learned how to do that. And so what I see the current administration doing, particularly with gold, right? And I broke this down on the show, right? Gold board, I think it's transformational. And, just asking
your gold board is transformational?
I think what they're doing with their intent to nationalize gold and say, how do we have gold?
Yes.
That is one of the, how do we own it? How do we leverage it to serve our people instead of just exporting raw gold, right? Yes. I mean, that's the curse of Africa is we've always been exporting raw materials instead of exporting finished goods, right? And so I think that's the beginning of something great. I'm excited to see where they go with that. But so far, I think that step of, hey, stop, we're taking control is powerful. And I want to see that, imagine that, policy in cocoa. I broke this down on the breakdown as well, where Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire controls about 70% of the world's cocoa.
Right.
But we don't own a global chocolate brand.
No, we don't.
Hershey's, Kit Kat, all these things, none of them are African made. Make that make sense. It does not make sense that we control the supply, but not the supply chain. We control the resources, but not the finished goods. That is, I think for this generation of leaders in Africa, that is the one thing that we have to figure out, is how to create more value here. And so I think that's great, a great start. I want to see what they do with cocoa as well, because I think that's such a great opportunity there as well. But more so, I also think that what Ghana is doing is important, but when you really look at Africa as a whole, it's important for us to have some sort of regional economic cooperation. Because imagine, Ghana has gold, but so does so many other African countries in Africa. So if we are owning our gold and we're telling, the West or foreign companies that we're not selling our raw materials, that's that. But then they can go to Guinea, they can go to Mali, they can go elsewhere and buy those resources. Right. Where does that leave us? There has to be some sort of a policy agreement on how we are managing our resources as Africa. And I think that piece of the puzzle is so critical for now. So I want to see Ghana lead the way in what that regional integration could look like as well, because that is where our true power is. That is how we bring leverage on the global stage. When we say, hey, it's 10 countries, we've been talking about the African dream. I mean, this is what Kwame Nkrumah said, right? He saw the future. And he said, Ghana's independence, our freedom that we're fighting for is meaningless unless it is connected to the freedom of the entire continent. This is what he meant. Because here we are, and we're at the same place. Oh God, we could go on and on and on, right? But it's really powerful when we shift that mindset to say, how we're doing this locally, but what could this look like regionally as well? And how can Ghana, which I think is poised to do that, lead the way in helping other African countries also nationalize their resources. But it's starting to happen, right? We're seeing that in the Sahel. A lot of the leaders there are saying, no, we're going to control our resource. And I think it's a great place. But I think with more intentionality Ghana can truly lead the way in that.
We can, and I know that we will get there one day.
Yeah.
You know, there's a song by Osibisa, we will get there.
One day soon. I don't know. Right? We will. I have faith that
so
we
now
will.
you are in Ghana to conduct some interviews.
I am.
Who are the big people you are having?
I'm super excited. So one of the things that we've been talking a lot about on the breakdown is the African Continental Free Trade Area, right? Because as you know, Mr. Trump, my wonderful president, he in February he introduced Liberation Day, right? And he's like, tariffs, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, everyone, sweeping tariffs. Of course, the headlines were focused on China and Mexico, but the impact here in Africa is incredible, right? And so I've really been talking a lot about what that means and why. For so long, we've been talking about Africa trading, and there's so much potential. Right now, we do more trade with the outside world than within, within ourselves here in Africa, and that's a problem. How do we tap into that? And actually, one of the key architects of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Alan Kyerematen, is Ghanaian.
Right.
Right. And so I've been following his work for a long time as the former minister of Trade and Industry, and as someone who helped create the blueprint for what an interconnected trade area could look like for Africa. I'm here to chat with him about that and where we go from here now that everyone is talking about this. He's been doing the work before Trump came into power and said, we're protecting our industries. Now you go figure it out on yourself, right? But I think now that everyone is talking about the need for more intra-African trade, I'm catching up with Alan to really hear his thoughts on where we go from there and his new framework on how we go from policy to implementation. So I'm excited about that. I'm also...
But before you go on, now Alan is not in government, but
he's not.
We want to get to that stage where we can say we are owning our own industry.
Yeah.
How do we tap into what he has?
Oh, that is... One of the things that I love about Alan from my engagement with him is he doesn't see himself as a party, NDC, MPP, no. He sees himself as a man of the people. Okay. Right? And he is willing and actually wants to work with the government, right? He feels like he's served. When I talk to him...
You think the government should give him an appointment?
Absolutely. Listen, we are at a point where party politics needs to be behind us, my people, okay? It needs to be behind us. We need to build a new Africa, and I think people who have the expertise and the experience like Alan should absolutely, right now I think his expertise is essential, not just for Ghana, but for the continent. And I think his ideas and his vision for Ghana, for Africa is needed at this time. So if he can bring that expertise to use to the benefit of the people, why should we dwell on party politics and say, no, he shouldn't serve? It's a mistake. Yeah.
He's been a Ghanaian for a while, for a long time. Since he was born, he's been in politics for a very long time.
Yeah.
Do you think the previous government did not make use of him?
Ooh, Rosalind, you are trying to get me in trouble. I will say this, he served, for quite a while as Minister of Trade and Industry. I think he did a great job. And again, from listening to him, I think his ideas, particularly around industrialization, is needed here in Ghana.
Okay.
When you look at youth unemployment in Ghana, it is a problem, right? Students, young people are getting degrees, but not skills or opportunities. The reason why I went to America is because I didn't have an opportunity. If I had an opportunity here in this country, I would be here in this country.
Which opportunity?
Opportunities, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I built my company from the ground up. Growing up here, I didn't see opportunities to do that, right? And I think being, in the U.S. and America has been known as the American dream has defined America for so long. The fact that anybody could go there and make something out of yourself, and that's true. But I think there's an opportunity to turn that into the Ghanaian dream, the African dream, right? Where you can build something transformational and impactful here, where you can get the support, the resources that you need. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's hard. It's hard for when I talk to young people, they feel like opportunity is out of reach for them, right? So how do we empower them? How do we give them access to capital, right? How easy is it here in Ghana to get capital as a young person to start a business? How easy is it to get the resources, the skills, and the training that you need to scale, not just start, but to scale your business, right? In the US, there are programs and incentives and funding to support your dream, to nurture that dream. And often I talk to a lot of people who have such brilliant ideas, but they can't get the support that they need locally to scale it.
Okay.
That's a problem. So anyway, back to Alan Kay, I think his ideas around how we create opportunities for young people and prepare them to lead, not just here in Ghana, but to build industries, sustainable industries, I think that's powerful. And I think the government could certainly leverage that expertise because, as you said, he's been in politics practically since he was a baby.
Yeah.
He was a founding member of the NPP.
Yeah.
I mean, we need him.
He's a gem.
He's a gem. And that expertise is needed for our country. So I just wish that we could let go of the party NDC and MPP, just let go and say, who can help us build the Ghana that we deserve? Who can help us build the Kwame Nkrumah Ghana, right? And let me say this, because I actually did an episode on the breakdown that when I was going through that, I actually broke down, right? And I'm very passionate about the things I talk about on the show, as you can see. But there was a story I did on Singapore and Ghana, and what Ghana can learn from Singapore's transformation, because I read that in the early 1960s, when Ghana was a young independent nation, Lee Kuan Yew, who was the prime minister of Singapore, came to Ghana at that time, and he was blown away by what Ghana represented at that time. He said, my goodness, Ghana has talent, it has resources, even said it has swag. We had that thing going, We had it all. He was blown away. And he left Ghana that day determined to make sure that his country, Singapore, doesn't fall behind. Here's the kicker. At that time, Singapore's GDP was half of Ghana's. Okay, Ghana was the third richest nation in Africa. GDP was about $800 in present day value. Singapore's was half of that, $400. Fast forward to today, okay? Lee Kuan Yew was inspired by what Kwame Nkrumah was doing back then. He went back, fast forward to today, Singapore is one of the wealthiest nations in Asia, in the world actually. GDP, over $153,000. Right. GDP. Ghana, under $2,000. You have to ask yourself, what happened? What did Singapore do right that Ghana didn't do? Because that man who went to lead Singapore into that transformation was inspired by us and what Kwame Nkrumah was doing.
Right.
We missed an opportunity. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing? And here's the thing, Rosalind, we owe this not just to ourselves, but to our ancestors, those who bled and fought for our country. And we owe it to our children. Right. To do something different. And so if the politics is now serving us, we gotta let go and bring people in positions of power who have the ideas. And I know so many of them, by the way. It's not even just, I know so many people.
And you're having a conversation with Samia Nkrumah as well?
Oh my God, yes. Okay. Tomorrow, who I am so thrilled about. We're gonna go deeper into Kwame Nkrumah. He's been quiet. She hasn't really shared her family story on Kwame Nkrumah, and she told me, I don't know if I should say this, but she's working on a book, which I'm like, nice. Oh my God, I'm so excited about that. So she's gonna really start telling her father and her family story, and I think that is so important, right? Because we need to own the narrative. So I'm talking to her tomorrow about that and what she's doing. So please tune in. Panagenius TV on YouTube. We have such great conversations coming up for you.
Unfortunately, I have to let you go.
Oh, man. Yeah. Thank you. This has been great.
But it's been a great conversation.
Yes,
and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I can't wait to watch that interview that you're going to be having with Samia, with Alan, and who else?
A few more. I have
more.
Honorable Yanka as well, founder of the Pan-African Heritage Museum. Who else? A few more people, my brain, but it's going to be awesome. So if people will follow us on Pana Genius, we'll keep them posted on that.
Right. Let's link up before you leave the country.
I would love to.
Yes.
I would love to.
We can have
Thank
lunch.
you. Oh, thank you. On you, right?
Yes, on me. Anyway,
Thank you.
Sandra, thank you so much for being here. All right.
Great.
So unfortunately, we have to let Sandra go, but we've enjoyed every bit of the conversation with her. Her name is Sandra Babu-Boateng, and she actually hosts The Breakdown with Sandra on YouTube. So make sure you watch it. This interview that she's going to be having with these great people in Ghana, you can't afford to miss it. Yeah. She breaks it down like nobody else does. She's that good at what she does.